right, so we're going to start solving polynomial equations. Okay, we will actually also do this next chapter when we're solving specifically quadratic equations, which are a type of polynomial. Okay, so the rule to actually solve polynomial equations is if you have a times b equals 0, okay, that means that either a has to equal 0 or b has to equal 0, okay, or they could both equal 0, but one or the other has to be 0, because in order to multiply and get 0 as an answer, one of our numbers has to be 0. Okay, so here's how we're going to use this idea, this rule, to solve these. Think of this whole parentheses here as your A. Think of the second one as your B. Okay, so if I know that those equal 0, I either know that x plus 5 has to equal 0 or x plus 3 has to equal 0. So then we're going to solve these equations using our rules and our process from last semester. Okay, so we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. So you get x equals negative 5. For this one, subtract 3 from both sides. You get x equals negative 3. Okay, both of these answers are correct. Okay, because if I would plug in the negative 5, okay, that part would be 0. If I plug in the negative 3, that part would be 0. Okay, so that's how you solve. So whenever it says to solve something, okay, you always want answers that look like x equals a number. Okay, so then looking at the second one, same kind of thing. So either x minus 4 is equal to 0 or 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. So I would add the 4 on this one, so I get x equals 4. So this one I'm going to subtract 1, so I get 2x equals negative 1, and then I have to divide by 2. So that's just a little bit more complicated solving. So either x is 4 or x is negative 1/2. Okay. Second idea from this section is greatest common factor. So this is the question that I always want you to ask yourself when you're looking for the greatest common factor. What goes into all of the terms that are listed? Okay, so for example, what goes into both 8x and 12y? Okay, so I always just start with the numbers first. So what number goes into both 8 and 12? Okay, well, 4 does. And then x and y are completely different, so they don't share anything. So 4 is my greatest common factor. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and divide both of these by 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. I still have the x. Plus 12 divided by 4 is 3. Still have the y. Okay, so that's factoring out a greatest common factor. So then looking at the second one on there, 14y squared plus 21y. Well, look at 14 and 21. 7 goes into both of those. Now we've got y squared and y. Okay, they both for sure have one y. Okay, because this first one has 2. So then we're going to divide everything by 7y. So 14 divided by 7 is 2. Y squared divided by y, use your exponent properties from last chapter. You get a y, because 2 minus 1 is 1. Plus 21 divided by 7 is 3. And then 1 minus 1 is 0, so we actually don't even write that y anymore. The way that you can check is if you would distribute this, like we did a couple sections ago, would you get back to the original problem? Okay, because that's always what we want to get back to, is the original problem. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our first rule and our GCF rule, and we're going to combine them. Okay, so we're going to solve the following equation. So we're first going to look for a GCF, then we're going to use that a times b equals 0 rule. Okay, so 3 and 9, 3 goes into both of those. Then I've got x squared plus x, so they both have an x, and I'm left with x plus 3. So this is my a, that's my b, so either 3x equals 0 or x plus 3 equals 0. So we divide that first one by 3, x equals 0. Subtract 3 for the second one, we get x equals negative 3. Okay, so 0 or negative 3 are our solutions to this equation. Okay, and we solved it. So same thing on the next one. So 4x squared minus 20x. What goes into both 4 and 20? We get 4. And then x squared and x is an x in common. So then you're left with x minus 5 equals 0. Okay. So then set them both equal to 0. So 4x equals 0 and x minus 5 equals 0. Divide by 4. X equals 0. Add 5. X equals 5. Okay, so that's taking our two rules and putting them together.